Hey,
Hello, hello, hello.
how's it going?
Eh, eh, it's all right. How are you?
Yeah, about the same.
I'm sure the news is heavy with everybody, but I've had a hard time with it. Um, so it's it's been a lot to digest, and I just woke up, so then also,
We'll just dump it
um,
all on you at once here. I would like to talk a little bit about what's going on a little bit later in the conversation. Why don't you start us, first of all, by telling us who you are, where you are, and what you do?
my name is Judson Michael Johnson. I am in Houston, Texas, and um, I guess I still kind of have a job with School of Rock, and I teach music there. And then I also take on a bunch of odd jobs. And after I guess COVID kicked off, I was doing a bunch of playing, and then I was also tour managing for Delta Spirit, and then of course that stopped happening. Um, so I got a job at a grocery store here in Houston, stocking shelves overnight, and it's been brutal, but gotta gotta make it work.
Yeah, I ugh, that sounds brutal. Overnight maybe is a little less brutal than uh, dealing with the public during the day if they're not open, hopefully, while you're there.
I I mean, sure, I guess. I'm not. I wouldn't be too put out about it if with all precautions were taken um, in terms of keep your distance, wear a mask. If you don't believe in it, do it out of courtesy. Um, but I mean, yeah, I say that, but I mean, I only know what I'm doing, and I know that whenever I looked at my watch at like 4:30, I'm like, oh my gosh, I still haven't put all the toilet paper away. This is so rough. Um, but um, it's not been that bad. Now, who am I? What am I talking about? I'm not even that. I don't have it that bad. It's really not. I'm just complaining because I don't get to sleep when I want to. But it's been just fine.
So if this weren't going on, you would be, what are we at? The end of May. Would you still be on the road with Delta Spirit at this point?
No, I think we'd be in like our 2 week break, and then we would pick back up June, and then go up through to Newport in
Yeah.
July. And I would have had my birthday up there, and that
Oh,
would have been awesome. But some other time, it'll
yeah.
it'll it'll come back
You
around.
know, of all the things that had been canceled on my calendar during all of this, the two things that hit me the hardest were missing Delta Spirit in Philly, because it would
Hmm.
have been the first time in what, 4 years that they've toured,
Right.
and then of course Newport goes without saying. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's you're right. It'll happen again at some point, and I don't think any of us will ever take any of it for granted
Oh, I
ever.
I hope not. I also have a concern about when when this whole thing kicked off. Like, what I imagine, what is the headline that enough people are going to read? They go, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go to shows again. And then how much of this, like the obscurity of the severity and the obscurity of its spread, and or the lack of knowledge about it, is going to keep like what percentage of people from going to shows anymore, or the folks that decide, you know what, live sporting events, concerts, this is not my thing anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. Um, I I worry it's going to be a large percentage as things are already open down the road. But I think initially there's going to be that kind of floodgate, like just get me out of the house and doing something normal. But that, I mean, I don't know, but I also, now that has almost been, um, um, that's almost difficult or more difficult to gauge with the current state of the nation. Um, like I wonder when I have so many questions. I'm really, I mean, like, I guess I hope a majority of people are just heartbroken. Um, I mean, I don't hope they're heartbroken. I just hope that the reaction is as such. But
Right, right.
I don't know. I really want to get back to live performance. I think it's a very powerful thing. It's a unifying thing. Um, and man, and Newport is such a beacon of that. Um, so counting the days.
Yeah. I actually have a countdown timer on my phone that when they officially announced that they were canceling, it went from like whatever number of days to like 400 something days. Um, and it was like, but you know, it's a finite day. It's a date that we have to look forward to. Um, we'll likely have a vaccine by then. It will likely be safe to gather in large groups then. I run a small pop-up venue here in Pennsylvania with just like a cap of 160 people. I
Mhm.
don't have any way to distance people enough to get together safely until we have a vaccine. So who knows when we'll get to come back. And I think that not knowing and not having the expiration date is a source of a lot of stress for a lot of us, especially those that have to plan things. You know, a tour you plan months and months ahead of time,
Mhm.
um, and in chunks of weeks or months at a time too. So I can't even put more shows on the calendar until I know what that start date is. So
Oh my
a
gosh.
little ways out.
Yeah. Well, my my brain says, "Oh, it's going to be about a year," but my heart says like 3 months. You just wait. It's just all of a sudden something's going to be like, "Yep, you know what? Shows are actually a deterrent for COVID-19, so let's have more live music."
It was the antidote all along. If only
Yeah,
we had known.
yeah, compassion and live music. For whatever reason, like UV and vitamin D, it just kind of disperses it.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask, other than your new night job, how else have you been passing the time? Do you get to do anything else then, or does it mess your sleep schedule up too much to do anything constructive that you
It
want to do?
it surprises me how much it absolutely rocks my world because I mean I literally had an alarm on at 1:45, got to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock, so it's like, let's be real. Like my nephew's here, my new nephew, and he's oh so cute. And the second I walked in the door, I was like, oh, let me feed him. Oh, let me burp him. Oh, let me hang out with him. And I am incredibly thankful for that because after just like sitting in my car for like 15 minutes after getting home, watching the news, um, and watching a lot of these videos come in of just how just the unbridled brutality across the nation that has completely shattered whatever semblance of trust that the law enforcement establishment has even mustered over the last however many years since the dawn time is just completely gone. I'm sitting in my car crying. I'm like, what can I do? I'll go downtown, and then I start seeing like the young woman that got trampled by a horse in
Oh,
Houston
that was
yesterday.
in Houston. I saw
Yeah.
that too.
Um, and friends of mine that were there and talking about um, like a homeless guy just sitting around got pepper sprayed as the cops were passing by. Like, what are they doing? It's like they're all stoked to be doing this. Anyway, I'm distraught about this. And I walk in. I'm like, oh, baby nephew, I need this to decompress. This is really great. Um, Going off on a tangent, but anyway, getting a little bit of sleep, and then uh, I still teach lessons remotely, which has been kind of weird because the first 15 minutes are kind of a um, therapy session, not only for the kids but myself as well. And I feel like I gotta pump the brakes because I feel like I'm talking to my buddies, but they're 14, 15-year-old boys and girls that are dealing with a whole nother litany of issues. And um, but it's a lot of fun because we can still derive a lot of joy out of our out of our craft. Um, but doing a lot of that, um, Matt Vasquez has me trying to record specific electronic drum parts for specific um, song ideas, which has been so awesome. Um, it kind of gives me that sense like, oh, I'm in the studio. I got a job to do. This performance has got to be sweet because Matt's going to send it to so and so and so and so. Um, maybe not, but it's a great exercise. And then I've also been trying. I spent way too much money, maybe the perfect amount of money, on recording equipment and gear right at the beginning. So whenever I start freaking out about software, or I can't get my MIDI controller to work, or I need another condenser, or these SM57s aren't cutting it, um, I will try and watch as many of these tutorial videos like I'm in college. So I've been treating it like, okay, sit down, bullet points, making notes, and a lot of these universities have put out these master classes and they've just thrown them up on YouTube. So I've been doing a lot of that. And then I built a gym in the garage, which I'm very, very proud of. And
I've seen that on Instagram.
I've it's I'm the envy of all my friends that were doing any kind of extensive lifting before this happened. Um, like a buddy of mine came over and saw it from a distance, and was just really jealous. Like, man, that's a legit chin-up bar. I bet you're keeping your reps up. I'm like, you better believe it. I have nothing else to do. It's that, and then I bought new running shoes, and I've been like tracking mileage and journaling whenever I feel like it. Um, I haven't been cooking as much as most folks are like, oh, I'm making bread. Like I made naan once. It was difficult. It was very difficult. Um, or maybe just time consuming. And like when the dough starts sticking in your hands, like I ruined everything. I don't have enough flour. I don't. What do I do? I could just order bread, but um, that's that's about it. I think. I was trying to get sleep, sleeping weird.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't think your body ever really gets used to that drastic
I think it's
flipping
impossible.
of the calendar. Yeah, or the
I can almost guarantee that it's impossible to do so because looking at the other people that also work there, they're crazy. They're crazy people. They have this job for a reason because I think the sleep schedule has made them absolutely crazy people. My boss does not like me at all. She is the toughest woman physically I think I've ever seen. But when she's unloading these crates of pickles or relish, and they're like 64 ounce thing, she just overhands it to me. So my arms are always just super bruised trying to catch all this stuff, loading them. It's, but if that's her work ethic, that's mine too. I have to try and match it, and she's setting the tone for everybody else. She's the only woman there, and she's crushing it. So I respect and appreciate that. But I just wish she'd laugh at my jokes. I wish she'd. But I tried to make one last night after like someone dropped something around her, and she's like, "Bro, what's up with that?" And I got up in this guy's face like, "Yeah, what are you doing? Don't be dropping Jessica's stuff. She's the boss, bro." And I thought she'd laugh at me, and she just kind of gave me a look. I was like, "Oh, you're back. All right. Okay, well,
wouldn't
back
want
to
to lighten the
talking."
mood or anything.
Say what?
You wouldn't want to lighten the mood or anything.
No, no, not at 5:30 in the morning. Whenever we're having to deal with an uptick in the amount of groceries that we're receiving and most of the time there's always someone that just doesn't show up, and they still get to keep their job because, well, we need them, and it's a it's a it's a brutal job to be doing anyway. But woe is me. Life is so hard. It's not that bad. Once the day's over, I'm like, yeah, cool. I'm gonna drink some chocolate milk and watch some cartoons and then go to bed. This will be fine.
Uh, on a really light note here, or maybe not, depending on your answer, are you getting to listen to much music at all? Like just for the sake of listening to it?
So working out, I'm always I'm trying to find something else to like delve into. I've gone through the first three Dune novels on audiobooks at
Oh,
work, flying through it in anticipation for when's that movie coming out? I know they made it with Timothy Chalamet and Javier Bardem. It should be awesome, but I've been a lot of audiobooks, but a lot of hip hop. My running playlist is a ton of J. Cole, um, Denzel Curry, who else recently? And then I have another playlist called Stupid Pop, which I need to change because none of the songs are stupid. It's just I have this idea that if I were to play this in the van with the band guys, they'd be like, "Dude, this is obnoxious." I'm like, "No, these are bangers. This is incredible tunes." And one in particular, this woman named uh, I think it's Leon or Leon. She's the Swedish pop star, Leon.
okay.
Um, incredible, incredible. This song she does called "You and I think is the best pop song I've heard in a really long time. And then the new Dua Lipa record, I think there's a couple songs that are just so good. Um, who else? Margaret Glaspie, I think
Mm.
is unstoppable. And then there was a new Dawes put out like one of their Instagram posts was like 6 records that had come out, like the new Blake Mills record. That guy's it's just stupid how incredible he is. Um,
So good.
it's incredible. It's
Superhuman.
it's such a like it seems like such a piece of high art or such a that I feel guilty listening to it. Like I'm not gonna understand how incredible this is. This is gonna take me years to process, and then on top of that, he produces incredible records. But one of the other suggestions, based solely on the cover art, was this Phantom Planet record that came out, which it's called Devastator, I think. Um, so good. It's so good. I had written them off for so long because I didn't really like Jason Schwartzman, but that dude hasn't been in the band forever. But I never gave their music a chance.
But you picked this album based on the cover art?
It's like this wedding reception outside, shot from the back, and there's like this Stranger Things vortex happening on the horizon, and I'm like, that looks rad. I bet it's some sweet metal record. No, it's Phantom Planet. Um, and then I've been playing music with a guy um, up at the school, but he's a really big prog guy, so he'll send me a bunch of his riffs, and he's got me into this band called Tesseract. Um, so I've been doing a lot of that, like learning to play in really odd time signatures. Like he's really a big fan of 5/4 and 7/4, and trying to figure out rhythmically how to go between those two. At first was impossibly frustrating, but after I figured it out, I'm like, oh, I'm awesome. Oh, I'm actually pretty good at this. I should keep it up. Okay, cool. Which has been one of the few like um, positive things this has happened, or like mentally, it's put me in a good spot as opposed to, oh, I woke up at 3 o'clock today, but that's how I have to get 7 hours of sleep, but I wasted my day. I'm just going to be depressed for the next three. This is ridiculous. But then I have stuff that I'm attaining goals, so it's working out as well as
It
it can.
sounds like it. Um, you mentioned Vasquez. I owe such a debt of gratitude to that dude and the music he has brought into my life, not only his own, but other bands I've been introduced to since I got into Delta Spirit in
Hmm.
2008 or whatever. So much of my record collection is devoted to the shelf space is devoted to his stuff. So my question is, the last time you were in a tour van, do you remember what was the music that you were listening to over and over on tour,
Over
whenever
and
that might have been?
well, during the Delta Spirit tour, we had one show. We played San
Oh, just
Francisco.
one.
We played San Francisco, and then the next day I was like, well, we have two sold out shows in LA. We're gonna do it. Murph, beautiful Murph. This is actually him. Jake Todd and the team is Murph's band. Um, he and I were crew and drove the crew bus, and we listened to a lot of his music, which is Jake Todd and the team are fantastic. Shout out. Um, he wanted to make songs while I was driving. Um, so we spent a couple hours doing that. But before that, um, I'm not ashamed to admit it. If I really like a song, I'll listen to it. I'll 3 or 4 times on a playlist and then cycle back through and do something else. But Margaret Glaspie's "Emotions in Math," I think, I think it's the greatest song of all time. I think it is. Um, it's beautifully on the outside looking in. It's kind of like beautifully simple. It's got a really kind of traditional rock structure and swing to it, but the older I get, the more I realize that some of these things that folks would quantify as simple um, are brilliant. Like the ability to get out of your own way and stay in a specific lane right to that and then say it's done as opposed to like adding too much to it is I think is so incredible in art because it makes the observer think that oh I could do that. Well, could
Mm-hmm.
you? I mean it's very and she's a monster guitar player and songwriter. Um, but I that record and in particular that song I I listen to all the time, all the time. And then I always will go back to a specific Meshuggah record. I think in terms of like heavy bands, they've written a very specific book, not just a chapter, but a book on the on the style, and it's so there's such like a cathartic element for me with these records that are I'm not only listening to it to try to figure out how to count these weird phrasings, but I'm the the choice of notes or when they choose not to play that they're just brilliant. It's great for runs, um, and it's like it's a cloud of sound that just kind of envelops you. It's not there's nothing too sharp or abrasive about a lot of the stuff. Like the vocals aren't all over the place. He's very much keeping to a specific timbre, but there's just so much going on. They're incredible. And I'm trying the new Strokes record. I just saw that they put something out recently, and I can't believe I missed that they did that. And somehow the single on that record already has 10 million streams, and the record was out for like a week and a half. How does that happen?
Yeah,
That's
I've only heard the single so far.
like Quiet the Adults Are Talking or something like that. But
Yeah.
I listened to it on the way to work the other day and thought, that's your most streamed song? That's impossible. There's no way. Something fishy here. But I won't fault them. Good. If they're getting paid for it, y'all make your money because none of us else are. And also they're incredible. Incredible band.
I want to go back to something you said about listening to the time signatures. As someone who does not, I'm a voracious consumer of music. I do not make music. And so when I'm listening, I am completely unencumbered by hearing the mechanics in it. And I'm curious how that changes the listening experience. Does it make it more enjoyable? Does it make you appreciate it more? Are you able to turn that off and just
Oh no, no,
ever?
absolutely not. Never. I my mom and I had this conversation a lot, um, or enough for me to wonder, Mom, why don't you like this song? This is sick. You really like Earth, Wind, and Fire. You should love To Pimp a Butterfly. Um, but uh, she's listening to like the entirety of the groove, and I'll I certainly have that resonating, but I identify with what I first can do myself, and that being drums and sing melodies. And so I digest that, and if that is something that I have attached myself to, then I'll then digest it. But with the time signatures being unique and ever changing, first it's very frustrating, but I set out like a goal to figure out now why and how is it doing this. And then whenever it clicks, I freak out. I'm thinking this is brilliant. And they do 5 here and then 7, and then they take out a phrase at the turn, and that's incredible. Um, and I learned a while back that there's this woman in Austin. I'm sure that they have them everywhere, but and I don't know why they don't, but they do death metal yoga classes.
Oh
And
wow!
for the longest time after graduating college, um, I had this really long attic with windows on either side of the house, and it would get up to 100 something degrees, like really hot. So after work, I'd go up there and do hot yoga and listen to intense metal. And I thought this is the greatest thing in the world, and that like losing yourself in yourself while doing an activity that requires you to focus, that's where I'd have like these aha moments of counting out these bars and freaking out because, oh, I got it. Oh, that that's really brilliant. And it probably took them forever to um, get everything assigned and situated and then perform it and record it. And then you tour it is just incredible. Um, Lyrics tend to take a minute to digest, um, namely, or like one of the bands that really did that was like Radiohead Forever. I never listened to the lyrics on Kid A. I just loved the record as a kid. And then in Rainbows, I didn't listen to the lyrics of House of Cards or Weird Fishes or any of these incredible songs until like 5 years after originally listening to the song and singing the lyrics back and probably completely misinterpreting what he's saying. Well, definitely misinterpreting what he's saying, and then realizing I can't believe I'm not noticing this at first, like how brilliant the wordplay is, or just the imagery until way later. I'm so much more in tune with the melodies, the rhythms, the interchange between the bass and the drummer, in particular the bass and the kick drum, like how are those patterns working? And that's how I digest hip hop for the most part. Is how can I play this rhythm, and how can I not make it sound so rigid when I play it? Why can't it sound as cool as it does on this J. Cole record? Oh, because I have to. Oh, okay, breaking it down. And then you listen to the lyrics, and then you have your mind blown. So it takes me a while to get there.
And I'm completely the opposite, probably because I have no grasp of the mechanics of it, and because I'm a writer. For me, it's always lyrics above all else
Mm-hmm.
that suck me in, with a few notable exceptions. I couldn't tell you the words to pretty much any J. Roddy Walston song, even
But
some like off that Night Sweats album that Nathaniel Rateliff did. I'm singing along, but I don't know the
but
words.
it's the delivery. It's as much the
Yeah,
delivery as it is the lyrical content. And I I hear that. The Nathaniel in particular. I say Nathaniel because we've met before. We're friends, or at least he's given me a hug like we are. Dear Diary, that was incredible. Um,
He seems
but
like he'd be a hugger.
he's he is an incredibly lovely dude. His band and crew are incredibly lovely folks. We met him when Vasquez was touring um, Holland, and they were so cool. They couldn't
I
take
just want to I want to shout out this record in particular. His new record is spectacular, by the
okay.
way, but this Night Sweats record, the year that it came out, I I usually will have one very clear favorite record of the year. This was it. I was giving it to everybody as Christmas gifts. Um, I love that record.
Yeah, that there was the biggest deal, like arguably in the world for a good amount of time. That every show he played that we were opening was unstoppable, and people were they were not just fans; they were there almost in devotion to him and his delivery, and they were just it was just so clean. Everything was so legit, and they gave us all of their mushrooms, and they shared everything on the rider, and we all hung out like it was so great because it's one thing to meet musical heroes. It's another to realize like, oh, we're similar folks. We're kind of buddies. This is super cool. But he was they couldn't have been any nicer at all. They were lovely.
And when that record broke, he had been at it for a really long time, but that record really catapulted him into so many more people knowing about him. I had tried to book him. I don't know what year it would have been, like right when this record was coming out. And the booking agent was kind of like, well, we're for this next tour, we're already booked in Philly and whatever, and there aren't really any days off. So the next time he's coming through the Mid-Atlantic, let's talk. Well, the Philly show on that run, I think it was originally scheduled for like Johnny Brenda's or somewhere really
Oh
small,
wow.
somewhere tiny. I can't remember. And then they moved it to somewhere, maybe the TLA or something. They moved it to a significantly bigger cap room. And then the next time he came through, it might have been a support spot. He might have been opening for somebody, but he played the Fillmore. So it was like he went out of my grasp for our room so fast. Like as soon as I was aware of him, I couldn't afford him anymore, or we couldn't stuff him into the tiny room we have. And I'm really happy for that. But on the other hand, it's like
I want that for me.
I really wanted to be the one to introduce our audience to him.
Right. My funny story when we were out the first time with him, my roommate's at the time's father, unbeknownst to me, is a huge fan, and was just kind of talking on the phone with his dad. He's like, yeah, Jud's out on tour with Nathaniel Ratliff and the Night Sweats. I was like, Nathaniel Ratliff? Hey, have him take a picture. And I hate asking anybody. I have like two people that I would ask to take pictures with if I met them. But I had very nicely asked him. And he's like, oh yeah, man, absolutely. So every like subsequent time I've seen him, was like, oh, you need a picture for Mac, don't you? Hold on. Um, and it was so funny. It felt like that was one of those few times like, oh, I made it. If Mac Moore knows that I'm hanging out with this guy and he listens to him, and so does Carolyn, and my parents listen to him, I'm sweet, cool, I made it.
I feel like this is a good segue since you mentioned pictures. I want to talk
Oh
about
yes,
this.
yeah.
So the very first week, it's now 11 weeks ago that I did these Sunday chats. I talked to Daniel and Krista, and we talked about this and told the story of this photo, which the whole story is basically me saying to Daniel, who was going to see Glorietta, oh, give the drummer a kiss from me, not knowing that you guys knew each other. I didn't know you were from Houston at all. Of course you know each other.
Yeah.
And so he was like, yeah, okay. And then I was sort of mortified and kind of forgot about it. And then his girlfriend sent me this at 3 a.m. and was like, here, I have a present for you. So it lives here in my living room alongside pictures of my family.
I made it.
And when I first got the heart-shaped frame and put it in, I had it in the middle of my kitchen table, and I used to, in a former life before COVID, I had people over for dinner all the time. I'm happiest with a house full of people that I can fuss over. And so I had it in the middle of the kitchen table, kind of like a centerpiece. And somebody came over for dinner. I don't even remember who it was now, but they're like, "Oh, who are we celebrating these guys? Who are they?" And I was like, "Celebrate what?" It's like, "Did they get married?" I was like, "No, no, no, no. In fact, those are straight dudes. They're just friends." He's like, "I don't understand what's happening," but it was a really good conversation piece. It still is, I feel like.
I good.
So
I'm
thank
glad.
you for being a good sport and making out with Daniel for me.
I'm beyond happy to help facilitate, and believe me when I say this, it was an absolute pleasure to take that photo. And I understand why he's in such a solid relationship after that kiss. I was like, okay, I get it.
Mm.
I can feel the love, and and I'm so alone. But it's funny that's not the only picture I have in circulation of a very similar kiss uh, and
Is this
pose.
about Tank?
No, well, no, that's another one. No, it's a buddy of mine, Critter, who lives out in Austin. We I will not be one upped by this guy, and it's very easy for him to one up anybody because he's absolutely hysterical and self aware. And so I figured, all right, I'm gonna really plant one on him and see what happens. And it was turned out to be a great picture. My mom texted me the next morning after that particular photo with Daniel and said that uh, I'm so glad your father doesn't have Instagram. I was like, all right, I'm gonna text him the photo anyway. And I mean, he grew up in a different time, different area, and it's taken a while to get him to come around to different ideas of
To
what,
understanding that sometimes friends just have to kiss.
yeah, or like what is masculinity, or what, like, how do you identify, and like do you have to stay in this one particular sphere, and that sexuality is a spectrum, and just love for one another can be this and that, and also like the amount of hugs and kisses we don't give one another is criminal. We should be,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now it's illegal,
Sure.
or just is impossibly difficult. But oh man, I got, yeah, getting texts from people like, man, I'll never take a high five or a hug for granted again. I'm like, I first time I gave my mom a hug after we were all kind of sorted. Um, I had this like, oh man, I haven't gotten to do this in far too long. And it also, I could carry that with me throughout the day.
Yeah.
It's it's palpable. It's super legit, and I miss it a lot. And I hate that I have reservations. Like, do you, do you want to hug? Or you know you're not a hugger. Okay, cool. You're not okay. Well, I mean, I'm still here to hug. I can totally hug, but I'm waiting for the day for someone to be like, it's okay to hug again. It's gone. Everyone's gonna be safe. But
Yeah, I haven't hugged my son since March 14th.
what is going on?
Yeah. Sucks. He comes over about once a week and we kind of yell at each other across the driveway. And that's it. I mean, he's been out running errands and working, and he's terrified of getting me sick because I have a lung condition. And I get it, but fuck, man.
I know. I know. I'm sorry to hear that. That is.
I feel bad for the kid when I finally do get to hug him. Because I already am kind of the kind of hugger that he'll be like, okay, mom. And I'm like, just let me love you. I'm not done yet. Um, so this first hug after all that time is going to be probably uncomfortable for him.
I'm. I'd be willing to bet every amount of money I've made over COVID, which is not very much, that the feeling will be mutual and absolutely reciprocated. and I hope that you both have this. I'm not gonna let go. I'm gonna hang out. I'm gonna hang out here for a while, and then like that hug will like meld into a shoulder to shoulder thing. Like, all right, I guess we're just doing this for a while. Okay, where are we going? It doesn't matter because we're going together. So,
And he and I are both big huggers, so I suspect
oh,
it will happen that way.
this will be clear your schedule. It's time for hugs.
I can't wait. Well, so anyway, thank you for this. I mean, what a loving
My pleasure.
embrace that is.
And we're both smiling, and it was a lovely day. It was post the after party for Newport, and Glorietta had just played the show, and it went extraordinarily well. A friend of mine from high school was there working for Vice, and we hadn't seen each other since high school, and we had this kind of like, oh my God, what are you doing? You're in the band? You're shooting for Vice? That's incredible. I'm so proud of each other. This was awesome. So that day was incredible. And then the after party was a blur, to say the least. It was just the lack of sleep and the amount of, it was just a lot of fun. It was too much fun. And then I see Daniel, like, oh my gosh, like someone said we should kiss. I'm like, I don't have to look, I don't have to ask into that. I'm just gonna, come here, let's do this.
That's how Danielle and Krista both tell the story, that they said that to you, and without a moment's hesitation, you were like, yeah, okay, bring it in.
We're gonna kiss.
Right now, let's do it.
Let's take a kiss. Let's have a picture taken. He has very soft lips. That man moisturizes, and I appreciate it.
He is one of my most favorite people on earth.
He and his girlfriend both are incredible folks.
They're wonderful. Since we're talking about Glorietta, I want to say, speaking of favorite albums in a given year, this was the only album I listened to for the second half of 2018. Over and over. I got a copy. I got it on vinyl at Newport. It wasn't out yet. It was out a month later. Mm-hmm. So I had a month's head start on listening to it. The first time I heard any of those songs was live at Newport, and cried my eyes out, by the way, during two of them. And then as soon as I got home and it was out, I ordered it on CD so that I could listen to it on vinyl in the house. And then as soon as I would get in the car, I put the CD on so that I was always listening to this record. I think it's in my top 3 favorite records of all time.
Oh, lovely. I tell everyone that is the coolest thing I'll ever have been a part of. To get to tour it, and I mean, it was a task to get all of those people to where they needed to be, night in, night out.
I can only imagine.
And like the where everyone is mentally at any given point is usually difficult for a group that big, and not to mention having 7 lead singers. There was always some part of the country where they were revered in such a way that the red carpet was laid out for them. So Brendan and I were living off like the most luxurious scraps from these folks, and I felt so cool to be a part of it. They're like, all right, I can't mess any of this up for anybody, because all right, this is David's song. All right, this is Noah's song. All right, this is Jason's song. I have to make sure that I do a good job for everybody, because going into it, I'm realizing, okay, I have 7 bosses. They're going to have 7 different opinions about how their art should be presented to their fans. And that was daunting at first, but then we started, like, once the set started going, and the camaraderie was always there. I mean, granted, we got into some situations, but I mean, that happens when you're on tour and you're not sleeping and you're trying to get from one place to the other, and it was so cool. It was the coolest thing ever. It was the first time, I think, that my mother came to a show, stayed the whole time, and bragged about it to her friends, and she just had the nicest things to say about the show in Houston. I guess it was like the last show of the tour, so it was really cried a lot. I cry a lot anyway, though. So,
Well, me too, to be fair. But
I like.
so the first time I heard two of those songs were at Newport. All the songs were at Newport, and I cried during two of them. And then that was in July. In October, I caught the show at the Rock and Roll. I think it was Rock and Roll Hotel in DC,
Yeah,
anyway.
Rock and Roll Hotel.
And I brought a friend with me who had at that point never heard any of the songs, and she, when I looked over at her after both of those same songs, she also had tears streaming down her face. First
Yeah,
time ever hearing them. So yeah, it's powerful stuff, and it was just such a party and so special
it,
to see that
it
live.
it flowed like a really good party. From in particular, the set was just kind of after like the third show, it just kind of landed and went, and it was the easiest hour and a half, 2 hours ever. Like I was so the hardest songs were the ones that were tended to be softer and more dynamically challenging for a rhythm section. Um, like Sinking Ships was always one I would approach with a sense of um, I try to be calm but assertive. But I got to sing harmony on it with Brendan, and I love singing with Brendan. Um, he's the most unstoppable musician, go-getter. So trying to impress him and stay within my lane was, and whenever it worked, I felt like I accomplished something as a musician. Um, and I didn't want to make Kelsey angry because she, even if she won't admit it, she ran the show. I mean, yeah, Matt is band dad and the mensch of all mensches putting it together, and he knows everybody everywhere. Um, but Kelsey's um, approach kept, at least as far as I'm concerned, that kept me square, trying to make sure that, all right, if mom's happy, everybody's happy. So let's make sure that this song is sweet but strong and so pretty. Um, oh, she's so good. And her band, Sir Woman, holler, Sir Woman, super, super great. If you don't know, now you know. Um, yeah, it
They've been
was
on my
that was
wish list to book.
so well. I hope they're available there because I also hope they pop off here soon too because they're so good. I hate we've played after them a couple times with Vasquez and I hate it because they're so good and they compose a set so well that I'm all right, well, let's get up there and play rock and roll after that. I just went to church. This was incredible, but they're great. They're so great.
um, I haven't been keeping up with the comments here, but let's see. Um, Somebody says you're a great kisser. Good to know. Somebody else says, I think they were saying they agree that Glorietta was the best album that year. Maybe that was about Rateliff.
Oh, that's
Um,
Matt's mom.
Perfect. Um, yeah, so I thank you very much for taking the time. I had told you we'd have a 20-minute conversation. I'm not sure how long it's been, but I suspect it's been quite a lot longer than that. So thank you so much for taking so much time to talk to me. Um, to wrap things up, how can people follow along with what you're doing, and how can we best support you in the things that you care about?
Um, how they follow me? Don't worry about following me. I'll get out there and do my thing. Don't that I'm not concerned. Um, the things I care about, well, I guess most topically, what's going on in the world now. I would hope that um, if you're unaware of why it's so brutal, educate yourself historically, um, sociologically. Like, why is it it's gotten to a point because there's been steps for the last, I mean, arguably 400 years. So please educate yourself. Don't be willfully ignorant of it. I can't imagine it's going anywhere. We need to find a better way to come to a dialogue. Some of the folks that I've been following as of late are someone like Sean King. If you haven't seen it already, watch Killer Mike's address to the city of Atlanta. And then organizations like the Loveland Foundation. If you can give, please do so. Minnesota Freedom Fund, National Bailout Fund. And don't blindly give your money away. Read up on it. Educate yourself on where it's going and why. I would say, yes, read up on current and past events as it relates to race relations in this and any country, really. Because down to brass tacks, it's folks just not getting along. And we should be hugging more whenever it's safe for everybody. But it's I can't stress the severity of this and the fact that any semblance of trust between law enforcement and the general public, I mean, for the time being, has completely been shattered, which it was already like a very fine trust to begin with. So I worry for the future. I worry for my brother's kid, who is so adorable. They got him some aviator sunglasses today. He's like, I haven't been downstairs since I woke up, but I'm gonna go make him put those sunglasses on, see if he needs to be fed again. So do what you can, educate yourself, make the future a better place. If you don't like something, learn to articulate why you don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, it makes me so sad. So sad. I don't want to cry on an interview, but I will. I'll totally do it. Yeah, I give your money to those that need it, and be intelligent about what you're doing. Don't just, oh, I'm going to Venmo you $50. Like, well, make sure it's going where it's going, and communicate with the powers that be that can then point you in the direction as to where your monetary investment is landing. I tried to make a list really quick before I came on to figure out some of these organizations that are doing great work, but I'm sure everyone's been inundated with information on social media. So if you see something, read something on it, and because I mean, God knows you have time.
Yeah, there's some really great vetted lists out there for places to give, and some really great reading lists. I would say start with How to Be Anti-Racist
James
and White
Baldwin.
Fragility.
Yeah.
and I Am Not Your Negro. Yeah, anything by James Baldwin.
Yeah.
My God, everybody go read James Baldwin. If that's your only takeaway from this, I think that's a good one.
And if someone tells you like, oh, well, he's a known socialist, it's like, all right, well, he's also a humanitarian and an activist. So look into that. Also, that's presentism, and it's not fair to associate his political beliefs with a humanitarian issue. And also just educate yourself. Don't be, sorry. I got into a bit of a internet argument with someone on my way to work last night, and I think I killed it with compassion. But the whole thing stemmed from just like, oh, you're really turning this into a political argument. Like, no, this is a human rights issue. This is not a political issue. Though it's used by political powers, it's definitely this is a bigger thing that will take a long time to digest. And in particular, those that are white, came from white suburbs that don't understand why the institutions and powers that be allowed for my life to be so easy, I have to acknowledge that and realize that there are folks that I work with, even at the grocery store, that I feel so it's heartbreaking to realize that they can't do a long list of things without, if it's not in the back of the head, the front of their mind, that there's an imminent danger to most everything they do in a normal societal situation. They're just kind of, if they want to go for a run, I mean, everyone knows hopefully everyone's aware of what's going on. So, yeah, be smart, educate yourself, read, because you got time. Stop watching. I mean, I'm sure everyone's watched everything on Netflix already, or whatever medium you're doing. Stop playing video games so often. Talking to myself. Get out and go for a run. Go read. You'll feel really good afterwards. I guarantee it.
I think that's all really good advice, and I really appreciate you saying all that, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. Thank you. This was a great way to end a day of talking to people.
It was an absolute pleasure. I hope the bags under my eyes weren't too crazy, but and also I thank you for the text reminding me. I'm like, all right, I know 5 minutes. Wait, that was 4 minutes ago. I don't have my computer. I need to get
It's
my
not
phone.
just you. Everybody gets the warning text.
Okay, well, it saved my butt, and I appreciate it. This was a joy. I I say I don't like talking about myself, but getting to relive like the Glorietta scenario, that tour was so cool, and I want to get back to those type of shows where it was nothing but like love and affection for not only everyone on stage but everyone off stage. Like it was such an exchange that I walked away from it thinking like this needs to proliferate. This absolutely needs to be something that continues to happen. It's cathartic for all parties, and even the staff were so lovely that um it it it's so impossibly healing. So I'm anxious for that to come back.
Instagram is going to cut us off in about 30 seconds. So I want to say thank you again. And I hope to see you in real life very soon.
I'll be counting on the days. I'm still like marking down the calendar for these tour
I'm
dates. So,
saving a hug for you.
well, it's going to be a nonstop hug. I'm gonna have to lose my job because I can't go back
Yeah,
to the
wait.
Delta Spirit guys. Sorry, your sandwich will have to wait.
I'm so glad. Take care.
JJ, thank
Be
you.
safe.
Love you. Take care.
Thank you. Love you too. Bye bye.
Bye.